Okay, like looking back to April 25th of 2005, that's when Dad died, and he was in home care. You know, he was in that care that at home. What do you call that? And that whole that was on a Monday that he passed early in the morning between 6:30 and 7 o'clock in the morning, and I had EWTN, Eternal Word Television Station, TV on at the foot of his bed real low because it was just helping him, have something to focus on, and the Pope Benedict was being installed as the Pope at that point. So that whole weekend,
Maxie, no.
George was
Maxie, come.
was having a hard time breathing, like
Kind of like that dog.
that he could. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm making her.
No, keep going.
But he couldn't. He was grasping for every breath, and I was just like, I was like listening to him, but I wasn't trying to fix it necessarily. I didn't know what to do. He had his oxygen on, but that's how the whole weekend went, gasping for every breath. And so and he had to have this medication at every certain time of day, and very, very necessary to have it at the same time, and so when he had that medication at 6:30 in the morning, I went in to give it to him, and when I went in, like I said, he was in the hospital bed, and at the foot of the bed was on the Pope TV thing was on with the Pope coming in, and I came in and I felt this incredible love for him, and I could still, he looked up at me, but I leaned over and I just kissed him all over his head, because that's what was sticking out. It was his head, and he was awake, he was aware, but he just couldn't breathe. And so I sat down, because then the rosary was coming on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
So I sat down next to him, and this is a good time to pray with him, because the rosary, I'm not telling you what I said, I just sat down and started praying the rosary after I kissed him all over his head, and I put my hand in his hand, over his hand, and I started praying the rosary with the TV. And as I was doing that, in that half an hour from 6:30 to about 10 to 7 or whatever it is, in that time, George relaxed, and he stopped. He just relaxed, and he didn't try to, I don't think he tried to get every breath. He just relaxed, and then then he was like, he's not breathing. And I was there by myself. That was the day that Joseph was supposed to be there to help me with Dad and be with Dad. John made up a schedule for all his siblings and everybody, and that was Joseph's day. Because I was working, I did cleaning jobs, and I didn't stop working. I'm sitting there around 10 to 7, and then if you ever watch EWTN, I can't get it on my TV, but there's a beautiful, 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 watch it sometime, Bryan, the 10 minutes between 6:50 and 7 o'clock, it's incredible prayers that you lead for God's mercy. I want to watch them again sometime, but just do that sometime. I'm going to try to hurry this up. So Joseph walks in, and I said, yeah, and then we realized that he wasn't breathing. So that's how Dad went out. He went out with me.
You said Joe walked in and put his lunch in the fridge, and then he walked over.
Joseph came in, and I couldn't be alone. I was there with George, and I think and then in that minute, Joseph Joseph walked in, and I said, Joseph, I don't think he's with us. I think. And then Joseph had to go in and put his lunch in my refrigerator, and then he came in, and he came over to the bed, and he listened to Dad, and he said, "You're right, Mom. He's not breathing." I needed Joseph at that moment. Did I ever need him? And he was there for me. And so that's how Dad went out of this world. And then I told you I found the prayer to St. Joseph that Dad must have taken a liking to that prayer. I found it in his dresser drawer months after he passed. A prayer to St. Joseph. I will repeat that. It's a kind of a little bit of a short prayer, but it said that you're praying to St. Joseph. And what the prayer says is, St. Joseph, I never tire contemplating you, holding Jesus in your arms. Press him to your heart and kiss his fine head for me. And when I draw my dying breath, have him return the favor. And when I read that prayer, that I had seen, that it was in George's stuff, in his thing, that he had in his dresser, I thought, kiss his fine head? I never kissed Dad all over his head, but I did that morning. And then Joseph walked in, and that's when he died.
Pretty awesome.
So that was like an answer from heaven for Joseph, Saint Joseph. Oh, and I have another thing. I didn't tell you this. Halloween. After Halloween, and George gave me this 3-prong ring, Jerome, or Bryan. It's yesterday, today, and tomorrow. It's got 3 diamonds. I have it on my finger right now. George gave that to me for our 25th wedding anniversary. On Halloween, after George had died, Joseph came over, because that was before they moved into their house, and they were living, and they came over to do trick-or-treating at Grandma's, on Lambert. And they came, because I can still see them at the door. And I opened the door, and when I pulled back, one of my rings, the one on this end, came out. I lost the diamond in that. And I'm like, I didn't realize it, and the diamond's gone. And so I told Joseph, and so Joseph, after they were all done, he came over the next day, and I looked every little inch, half inch of my whole carpeting where I went and sat down on the couch waiting for the trick-or-treaters to the door. And then we looked out on my deck, and then under the deck, Joseph and I, he can tell you, we looked all over for that diamond. Could not find that diamond. I never, ever, ever, ever could find that diamond.
Mm.
And as I think of it now, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, it's kind of like it meant that diamond, I'm not going to be here, maybe, But I love that ring. So when I went to Chicago, I couldn't wear a diamond that's supposed to have 3 diamonds in it with only 2, the big one in the middle. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Today is the big one. Anyway, I'm taking too long with this, but so I decided, I took this ring to a jeweler to get the one replaced. The diamond replaced that was gone, so I could wear it. Because I want to remember yesterday,
Right.
even if I don't have them tomorrow. And I'm going to tell you, this was when I lived on Bertaux, in my apartment on Bertaux. I went to the jeweler there,
Yeah.
and I took my ring in and I gave it to him. And then they replaced it. But I'm going to tell you, I don't tell this to too many people, but when I came back to pick it up, he said, and he was a married man, he was an old man, but he says, I just want to tell you, I'm married, but for some reason, I want to take you home and kiss you. Okay. But that was George coming through. The man who replaced this had this overwhelming feeling he wanted to take me home, and he had to tell me that. Do you believe that? No, you don't believe that, Bryan. You're going,
I do.
It's weird. But I knew it was George coming through. And he was like, this is not me. This is not me, because I'm a married man. But he had this overwhelming feeling. And he was the only one. He was the one that replaced this diamond. So I wear this diamond. And I don't know. And I also wear this one. I have a ring that it's footprints in the sand. When you were alone, I carried you. So those are my 2 rings, Bryan.
Cool.
I don't share that with everybody.
That's a good story.
So you know that.